welcome to the Zen Den, and welcome to your little recharge moment today. We look at tips, tools, and practices on how to look after your mental wellness. So today I want to speak about a concept called the flow state. And one of the fathers of the flow state is Dr. Csikszentmihalyi. So the best way I can describe the flow state to you is I want you to imagine that you've started surfing, for example. And there's a little graph that I want you to imagine now. And on this side of the graph, it is the challenge, and on the other side, it's your skill set. The XY axis, your challenge, and on the horizontal axis, we've got your skill set, right? And so I want you to imagine that you're a surfer now, and you're like kind of new, and so your skill set is kind of there. And then you start getting better and better, and so your skill set moves along this horizontal axis, right? So the skill set moves along until you get really, really good, and that's sort of at the end of the axis. And then I want you to imagine that the challenge is the size of the waves. So now I want you to imagine that you're kind of good, and the wave is kind of like, it's smallish, and so there's a little bit of a challenge, but there's not much of a challenge happening, and so you kind of like, it's kind of challenging in the beginning, but then you can imagine that the small wave, as your skill set moves, you almost become bored by the wave, almost apathetic by the wave, almost like a relaxed state, because like the wave is so, like you can surf the wave in your sleep, right? So the wave is small, and your ability to sort of surf the wave, your skill set outdoes the wave, and so the wave doesn't provide you with any challenge whatsoever, and you almost get into like a relaxed state when doing that. Now I want you to imagine that the wave gets bigger, and then again I want you to imagine that your skill set kind of matches it as it goes, and you then maybe, let's picture like a really big wave now, like a big, really, really big wave, and your skill set doesn't quite match that, then you would, or doesn't match it at all. So in other words, big wave, challenge really high, skill set really low, really anxious, right? Really anxious of the wave, anxious of the ability to surf it, really fearful. That's a fearful state, really anxious state. Now, at the top of this graph is where the skill set and the wave is just big enough to provide you with a scary moment where you really have to focus, but you can do it. In other words, the skill set matches the challenge, but at the very end of your skill set. So your ability to do this thing is being absolutely stretched, but you can do it. And within that moment, we call that the flow state. So you have to be fully immersed in the exercise, in the practice. You have to really be on the board, really focused to be able to surf this wave, but you got this. You got this. You can't think of anything else. You've got this. So these flow states are when the task is really difficult, but you got this, and you can't think of anything else but be here right now doing the task, moving on it, working on it. It's really pushing you. It's really tough, but you're in it. You forget about going to the toilet. You forget about eating. You're just in this flow state. Now, the interesting thing about the flow state is that research after research has said to us that it's at that state, it's in that state that you're actually at your happiest. You're at your most meaningful. You're at your most purposeful. You're doing something that's pushing you, and this is giving you purpose and meaning, and it's good to be in that flow state. That's the state you want to be in. Now, interestingly enough, if I have to say to you today, what would you like to do tomorrow? Grant, I'd really like to sit and like, I don't know, Netflix and chill. And I mean that in like a real sense, right? Not the other one, just like chill. Okay, I just want to like do nothing. I want to be like apathetic on the couch. And the truth is, those are not the states that bring about the most happiness. The most happiness come from states where you're pushing yourself, where you are at the end of that thing, where you're really challenged, where you're really trying, where you're really focused. You want to get yourself into more of those particular states. So what does this mean? This means that I want you to push yourself. I want you to push yourself at work. I want you to push yourself in your extramural activities. I want you to go and climb the mountain you've never climbed. I want you to go and play paddle against someone who's a little bit more skilled than you are, that pushes you, that you really have to focus, you really have to concentrate, you really have to be there with that, in that game, on that mountain, in that Excel spreadsheet that's challenging. Push yourself at work, push yourself in extramural activities. You're going to be a lot happier when you get into those flow states. So go and find those flow states, go and move yourself into them, and I promise you're going to find happiness out of them. Okay, flow state away, friends. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.